Welcome back. Well, every year in Australia, around 600 people die from opioid overdoses, and more often than not, they're everyday members of the community. And in a bid to tackle the epidemic, last month the government banned over-the-counter sales of opioids. But the reality is the majority of opioid overdoses is actually the result of drugs that have been prescribed. So, will banning over-the-counter medications help or force users to doctor shop to get their hands on prescriptions? For today's agenda, I'm joined by former addict Jarrod Weir and emergency medicine specialist Dr. Gordian Fulder. Good morning to you both. Jarrod, you first became addicted to opioid painkillers in your early 20s, I understand. Tell us your story.
So, my journey with opioids began after significant injury to my shoulder while serving in the Defence Force. And after some surgeries, I found myself using opioids every day, even when the pain wasn't sufficient. So what started as a dependence on the drug quickly became an everyday activity.
And when did that crossover happen? When did it become an addiction?
I can't really put my finger on that, and that's the difficult thing, and that's what we're seeing is finding the line between where it's a dependence and where it's an addiction is really difficult.
Gordian, the path to opioid addiction often stems from patients seeking pain relief after surgery or a sporting injury or something fairly mundane. But overdose deaths from opioids far outnumber those from heroin and ice. You've obviously been at the front line in emergency. Tell us your experience with opioids.
You can add in cocaine. If you add in all those sort of drugs, the opioid deaths far outnumber those. And the other thing is, when a patient comes in and they're unconscious from an overdose, if it's from the opioids, not heroin, they're very hard to treat.
Why is that?
Because naloxone, which is a specific antagonist for heroin, you can wake somebody up at the end of the needle, and I think it should be out in the streets, the ambulance have it, whereas the opioids, there's slightly different chemistry, it doesn't work. So it really is an enormous problem, and the problem is people deserve, it's a duty of a doctor, a healthcare professional, to provide pain relief. Massive money to be earned from the pharmaceutical industry for pain relief. Lots of prescriptions, cancer, backache, headaches, all that sort of stuff. It's a mega industry where there's so many more opioid medications available and being prescribed.
So a lot of people think this is the result of people going from doctor to doctor to doctor and getting lots of prescriptions, but in fact that's not the case, is it? People are often going to the same GP for their prescriptions.
What it isn't, but what it does, it actually helps identify those people who are heading for trouble. Right? If you just go to your doctor and you've got bad headaches or period pain or whatever it is, you will get appropriate thing. But people who go around to doctor, we're heading towards Easter, people should have a letter from their GP back home if they're travelling on holidays that they need opioid prescriptions and things like that. Well,
Jarrod, what did it take for you to turn things around? Because I understand you now work as a counsellor, helping people with these addictions.
Yeah, absolutely. So with my opioid addiction, that was something that I came off of in my mid-20s fairly. That was done at home, and that was...
You went cold turkey.
Cold turkey. It was a really, really difficult sort of week or two just in that first initial stage, and then after that was difficult. And then I had a later addiction with methamphetamine as well. But since I went to inpatient rehab for that, so I spent 6 to 7 weeks in an inpatient rehabilitation centre. On my exit from there, rededicated my life to really helping people with these issues. So for me, it's a bit more than just a job, so it's something that I have a lot of passion for. It's a calling,
of course. So you acutely understand addiction. For people who might be watching this, who are thinking to themselves, you know what, I possibly cross that line into addiction, what's the first step? What would you say to them? The
first step, really, I would suggest if you can, go and see your GP. Outside of that, hospital emergency departments is usually, well, most hospitals will have a psych triage team there that you can speak to, or just looking up on the internet for your city and drug addiction, and you usually find a rehab that's able to help you.
Gordian, I want to give you the last word. How do we get to this stage, and how do we get out of it?
We've been getting there for a long time. We look at America. America's really in deep trouble. And what it is, it's all about money. In other words, pain relief has to be given. There's so many opioid tablets out there, and the thing is, it's very easy to get in trouble with misuse of these ones because people have got pain, they take it. It's easy to keep taking it because it alters your reality. Opioids actually tell the brain that it's not pain, the pain's still there. So you need other things besides opioids to really treat pain.
So you need to get really good sound advice. Obviously.
Absolutely, it's multimodal.
Yeah, all right. Really appreciate you both coming in this
Thank you.
morning. Thank you very much. It is such an issue. Carl and Sylvia.
Yeah, very big issue, very complex issue as well. Georgie, thank you.